Nothing quite like watching some of these big yachts come racing back into the inlet. Welcome back, crew, to Boats vs. Haulover. Man and Machine take on Mother Nature down at beautiful Haulover Inlet in Miami, Florida, and today should be a fun one. We got about a 15-mile-an-hour wind, an outgoing tide, 2 to 3 foot seas. Let's see how our captains fare. And that's going to bring us to the first round of our competition. And here in the first round, the boats are going to toss a Paramount in the ring to see who can get on the board first. Will it be the inlet or the boats? Let's go. And our crew is starting to work their way out of the mouth of Haulover, kind of taking that slow roll approach. Oh man, close to a stuffing there. This boat doesn't have a ton of freeboard, and right there, water coming over the bow. They're not stuffing it hard, but again, as we've mentioned many times, we don't actually rate the stuffings here. Basically, it's just some simple rules. If you stuff the bow, water comes over, unfortunately, you wind up taking the loss, and even though these ones are light stuffings, it's gonna be an L for this crew here in the first round, and the boats are quickly gonna go down 1-0, even though overall, I don't feel like they look that bad, especially for a boat with this low of freeboard. And that's gonna bring us to the second round of our competition. Haulover has garnered the early 1-0 edge as we move into the second round, and here in the second round, the boats are gonna toss a Wellcraft in the ring to see if they can go ahead and get it tied back up. But our crew comes in and bam, smacks down hard. Our guy gets airborne and winds up getting slammed into the seat. And this crew is absolutely soaked. It's tough to tell there. We couldn't see the actual stuffing, but the amount of water we saw come over the front indicates they probably stuffed the bow. And unfortunately for this crew, that means they're gonna wind up taking a loss as well. And things are not starting off good for the boats here, as they're gonna go down 2-0 early, and that puts them back into a corner, because if the boats continue at this pace, that's it. Only one more loss in any one of these rounds, and this contest winds up ending early. But we're going to go ahead and move into the third round of our contest. Haulover up 2-0. Here in the third round, the boats are going to toss a Skipper 42 in the ring to see if they can go ahead and at least get on the board and try and get them back into the contest. But here we go, our crew is racing toward the mouth of Haulover. They got the boat up on plane, trying to keep that bow trimmed up. Again, it's getting a little sloppy out here. The last thing they want to do is get caught with a following sea, and all of a sudden, the next thing they know, they wind up nosediving and stuffing the bow. But overall, they look pretty solid. Stay up on plane, letting the boat do the work, and keeping the bow high, and they will sneak their way into Haulover without an issue. Couple close calls, but again, this boat's just barely able to keep that nose up, keep it over the top of the water, and this crew just slides right on in, taking a win for the boats and getting the boats finally on the board. But that's going to move us into the fourth round of our contest. Haulover still has the 2-1 edge, and here in the fourth round, the boats are going to toss a scout in the ring to try and see if they can tie it back up, and man, this is one of the bigger scouts. These scouts absolutely eat these inlets up. I've said it many times. The scout boats always impress me. Every time they come through the inlet, I get a little more impressed with the vessels, but one of the things I'm starting to wonder as well is it seems like every time I see them come through the inlet, they get a little bigger also, which might be helping that factor. But this boat right here is no different than any of the other ones we've talked about. Massive scout, easily makes its way through Haulover, and will easily wind up taking a win for the boats, which is going to move us to the fifth and final round of our contest, and we are now surprisingly tied at 2 apiece after the boats went down 2 rounds in a row early. Here in the fifth round, though, the boats are going to toss a Hurricane in the ring to see if they can go ahead and close it out. This is going to be an interesting one. Here we've basically got a lake boat trying to come back in with a heavy following sea to Haulover. This is going to take a little finesse for these guys to get this boat back into the inlet without stuffing the bow, and they're going to have to take their time doing it, as we can see right here. What Cat probably really needs to do on this one is take the more traditional approach here, wait for a decent sized wave to come in, post up on the back of it, and ride the back of that wave all the way in. The trick to this is to not let the wave behind you catch up to the boat, because if it does, it's going to lift the stern, which means the bow is going to drop, and they're going to wind up stuffing it, and it almost happens right there. Super close on that one. I thought water was going to come over, but it didn't quite make it in. But again, they get caught from behind. He gets a little sideways to try and keep the boat up from going into the next wave, and it winds up working. but man, they're getting pushed all around by Haulover here. This is going to be a close one. I'm not sure if our crew's gonna make it in. And one more time, the wave catches them from behind and they're being pushed forward into the wave in front of them. And we're gonna have to go to the sky look to see whether or not they wound up stuffing it there, because I couldn't tell from the angle we were looking at here on the beach. But here we're gonna see it happen. They're coming in and that wave from behind them catches them, pushes them, they wind up burying it, lightly stuffing the bow. But unfortunately for that crew, that means they're gonna wind up taking a loss here in this round, and that means Haulover is gonna take the win in this episode. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Boats vs. Haulover. If you did, please check out our other content. We have Wavy Boats, who does a bunch of great things down at the inlets. My channel, Broncos Guru, does some great comedy boating videos there as well. And of course, we got the Miami Boat Ramps channel that focuses on all the hilarity that happens at the boat ramps in South Florida. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.